Okay, thank you very much, Professor. Good morning, professors. Thank you for the opportunity. Today, I'm going to share one interesting topic, which is the relationship between the online of the word of mouth and the offline word of mouth, and how do they affect the Chinese students' by decision-making journey. My name is Xiaolie QI, and my thesis supervisor is Professor Boukef, Nabila. All right, so first, let's look at the data from the international education market to see why the research on Chinese students is relevant and important for Australia, where my company located. International education industry was worth about 37.6 billion dollars, Australian dollars, to Australian economy in 2019, and making it Australian fourth largest export in 2019 as well. Education-related visitors account over 38% of total tourism spending in Australia and 57% of tourism export. And of this, Chinese education visitors spending on average about 8.5 times more than over the other visitors. So from the above data, we can see that international students from China are vital to Australian economy and the education industry. Moreover, by reading the literature, we also found that social media as a significant information source for consumers has led to changes in the decision-making behaviors and plays an essential role in university students' lives and their daily consumptions. Moreover, education institutions and companies are beginning to use social media to recruit students. So it is imperative for the international education companies such as my company that have previously focused on the offline recruitments to be aware of the importance of the online word of mouth in social media and its interaction relationship with the offline word of mouth on the Chinese student customers by decision-making process. We also found this a gap in the literature. The previous research on word of mouth either investigated on the online word of mouth or offline word of mouth, but there is a lack of study regarding the relationship between these two types of word of mouth and the extent to which they impact the customer by decision-making process. So it is our interest to fill in this gap, and it comes out with our main research questions. The main research question: what is the relationship between the online and offline word of mouth, and how do they affect the Chinese students' by decision-making process? This thesis actually consists of 3 papers, and each paper tries to answer one sub-research question. And we want to fill out what is the relationship between social media and Chinese students' by decision-making, how offline word of mouth and online word of mouth impact each other during this Chinese students' customer by decision-making journey. But also, we want to investigate the extent to which offline word of mouth and online word of mouth impact the Chinese students' by decision-making process. So we move to the next one. Yeah, our research, as I mentioned earlier, consists of both qualitative and quantitative approach. The paper 1 and the paper 2 is a qualitative research, use semantic analysis. So a different interaction has been made between the existing literature and the empirical data to develop thesis, codes to be analyzed. Some of the codes are emergent, and some others are from the literature. For paper 1, there are 8 codes, 6 are emergent from our study, and 2 are from the literature. The quotation of the students' interviews and the code list has been attached in the final document. For the paper 2, there are 5 codes. 1 is emergent from our study, and 5 are from literature. Following the recommendation of Miles and Herbermann, 2002, I used the matrix tables with the different identified themes to facilitate the comparison between the different students' behaviors. A code list also attached in the final document as well. So this is the qualitative research. Paper 3, it's a quantitative research. So paper 3 focuses on the extent to which offline and online word of mouth impact the Chinese students' by decision-making process when choosing a school overseas. So our quantitative study survey was created by using the questionnaire star online survey software to collect the data. The data was collected from 101 university students in China for the time of 2nd January to 25th January 2021. The measures were extracted from the existing literature and adapted by considering the study objectives and the goals in our research. Participants rated all items using a 5-point like scale from 1 strongly disagree to 5 strongly agree. So the dependent variables such as the intention to buy, and the independent variables such as the information source credibility, online word of mouth, offline word of mouth, positive online word of mouth, and negative online word of mouth. So this study firstly conducted a pilot test to test the validity of the questionnaire. A pilot study of 30 participants was conducted for this study. We did reliability and validity analysis of the test questionnaire and adjust the questionnaire accordingly. The model analysis was conducted by using smart pillars to test our model. I begin with an assessment of measurement model and its factors, followed by the structure model assessments. And all the variables included in the model meet the criteria. Moreover, we straight followed the recommendation of NIST 2016 to assess the mediation. We concluded that information source credibility and the online word of mouth fully mediates the relationship between offline word of mouth and the intention to buy. All right, so now I'm going to present the results of our study. So our study consists of both qualitative and quantitative thesis. And from the quantitative result, we found that in addition to WeChat, Chinese students also use Weibo for their overseas student school selection searches. WeChat and Weibo influences students' by decision-making process. Moreover, we also found that the Chinese students mainly rely on the offline word of mouth from parents and the friends, which is then confirmed through the online word of mouth. So let's have a look at the next one. So based on the qualitative research, we come out with the hypothesis of a quantitative study. So as we can see from the table that all the hypotheses are supported except the hypothesis 2. From the quantitative result of the study, we can find that offline word of mouth has an indirect effect on intention to buy through a double mediators of information source credibility and online word of mouth. Our research argues that there is a dual mediating effect with the information source credibility and online word of mouth on the relationship between the offline word of mouth and the intention to buy. So as it shows from the in the table, we can see that the offline word of mouth has a significant indirect impact on the intention to buy through the information source credibility and online word of mouth. We also found that offline word of mouth has no significant impact on the intention to buy. So we can hence conclude that information source credibility and online word of mouth fully mediates the relationship between the offline word of mouth and the intention to buy. The main contribution of this study is to show the extent to which both online and offline word of mouth influences Chinese students' customers' by decision-making process. So this finding fills the gap in previous research that suggests research has identified a gap in the literature on the credibility of the online word of mouth in situations involving multiple communicators and how this ultimately affect the end consumers. Our finding fills in this gap by revealing the relationship between online word of mouth and offline word of mouth, and their interaction influences customer decision makings. Besides its theoretical contribution, the result of a study provides applied knowledge and the recommendations helping the international education companies and institutions formulating the social media and word of mouth marketing strategy. So this study contributes to the both marketing and the information system. Our study has some limitations. So first, this study used a small sample to collect data. Participants were from university students from Beijing, Shanghai, Guangdong, and Changsha in mainland China. Although the university students are the main social media users, they may not accurately reflect the entire population. So small sampling methods may have limitations in generalizing the results from small samples to large groups. Second, consider the validity of the variables of by decisions value for the data we collected. It had to be discarded. Our study only investigates the influence of online and offline word of mouth on the buy decision-making process for the for the intention to buy. So future research can further explore the influence of online word of mouth and offline word of mouth on the decision making process. So let's have a look we call the overall the managerial recommendations. So from the other studies the research result, we come out with some of the recommendations. So we recommend that the interaction channels such as WeChat and Weibo can be used as a platform for the future communications between the students and the international education institutions, effectively address the Chinese students' questions and provide them with the information they need in real time. But also, companies can use Weibo and WeChat to influence Chinese student customers' by decision-making process by providing offline and online communication platform and social media presence. As we also know from this study that the Chinese parents and the offline word of mouth from the strong tie have strong control and influence over their students' behaviors and by decision makings. This study provides the input for those who target the Chinese students' customers about the importance of the offline word of mouth. So the international education institution and companies should take specific actions to trigger the communication among students, such as online word of mouth communication platforms and offline virtual student sharing sections, or even the education exhibitions or those offline activities where the past and the prospective students can share their experience and advice. Besides, international education institutions and companies should provide a seamless communication experience across both online and offline word of mouth channels to capture the Chinese student customers market. Give you an example. For example, the international education institutions can use Weibo to create online marketing campaigns based on the current popular topics. So to quickly reach a wide range of the student customers and quickly increase their new brand or service awareness. The business can then use semi-provides WeChat groups of such as 50 to 100 people to pull in friends and friends of friends to showcase their services, communicate with the customers, and answer their questions about the lifestyle, universities, or the student activities. So those kind of testimonials and the informations. So after the students and the parents have established their trust in the international education companies through the online social media, such as the local social media, Chinese social media, WeChat and Weibo, international education companies and institutions can actually organize the offline sharing meetings and seminars to allow the students and parents who communicated online to participate in the offline communications. We say that we transfer those online traffic or leads to offline. So make full use of those online and offline word of mouth advantages to influence the decision makings of the Chinese students customers. Summer, this study actually tested the extent to which offline word of mouth and online word of mouth impact the Chinese student customers by decision-making process when choosing a school overseas. So the main contribution of this paper is to show the extent to which both online word of mouth and offline word of mouth influence the Chinese student customers' intention to buy. The finding fills the gap in the previous research, that is a limited research on the relationship between these two types of word of mouth and their interaction influence customer decision makings. So this research improves our understanding of how online and offline word of mouth interact to influence the Chinese student customer decision-making process. Moreover, besides this, the theoretical contribution, the study results could also be a good source of information for marketers of international education companies and institutions who need to be more actively involved in online and offline word of mouth marketing. This study provides the applied knowledge and the managerial recommendations for the international industry, international education companies and institutions to develop effective social media and word of mouth marketing strategies targeting the Chinese students consumers. So that's the information about my research. Thank you.